But yes, this is Best of the Best Studio Shaft. Who here would say y'all are vaguely familiar with Studio Shaft? Okay, good, good. I would like to believe that by the end of this panel, you will walk away with a little bit of more knowledge about them. They're one of my favorite studios of all time. I personally adore most of everything they've done. Except for the fact that I haven't seen everything they've done. So I will do basically this kind of panel, best of the best, as you might see if you look at the schedule, is that I do a lot of best of the best panels at each con I do go to. Mostly, like I've done 3 so far: Studio Shaft, Kyoto Animation, and Gainax, Trigger, and Kara. I'm actually working on bringing some more to cons. So if you have a studio that you would like me to cover in a best of the best panel, my DMs on Twitter are open. So what is Studio Shaft? We have to talk. Honestly, this topic is very, I would say, we can really dive deep into this is a big iceberg. Studio Shaft is known most for its interesting OPs and EDs. Well, not maybe most, maybe not the top thing that they're known for, but that's definitely one of the things that they have brought to every series, pretty much every series they've done, at least post 2004. Most of their shows have these very interesting and theatrical OPs and EDs that kind of like spread a lot farther than maybe the show might, which is why we're gonna be watching a lot of them in this panel. So be prepared for that. Who here watches the OP? Okay. Now, if the person to your left or to your right has raised their hand, know that they are cultured. And if they didn't, you can avoid them after the show. Anyway, so what's up? Well, then you can avoid them after the show. So yes, the Studio Shaft was founded in 1975 by Hiroshi Wakao, who retired in 2004. As I mentioned, 2004 is kind of a nexus point for the studio. Also in 2004 is when the Simbo era began. Who here is familiar with Akiyuki Simbo? Also known as Akiyuki Simbo, but romanization. Anyone? Oh boy, y'all are in for a treat. Okay, cool. So Akiyuki Simbo, Tatsuya Oishi, and Shin Onuma are 3 major power players in Studio Shaft's lineage. And they are responsible for kind of attributing a certain kind of style that you may know them today for. Without them, it may not have come to pass where we would know Studio Shaft for neck tilts. We may not know them for the way that Madoka Magica turned out. We may not know them for certain key traits that they have today had it not been for these 3 power players. So let's see. Their first, they originally started to paint the animation, but they also worked on animation production as a subcontractor. In 1987, they worked on their first original title called Yume Kara Samanai, but unfortunately, I cannot find any footage that is not absolute dog shit to display for y'all. But I did want to mention it because there may be some people out there who are like, I know more about Studio Shaft than you, and you didn't mention this obscure title from the 80s. And then I'd be like, please go touch grass. But the studio itself will celebrate its 46th year of operations this year in 2021. It's almost 50 years of absolute craziness, 50 years of neck tilts and just complete mind-blowing, craziness. And I'm very excited to be spreading their work with as many people as I can. So Hiroshi Wakao formerly worked with Osamu Tezuka in his studio, Mushi Production, which is a commonality that we had. If you were here for the Kyoto Animation panel, you would have heard that I believe Yoko Hata also started with Mushi Production. So it's a very much a commonality between the 2 panels. One thing I noticed earlier this morning with Kyoto Animation is that when you start to really do research into these studios, you will find that there are a lot of kind of family tree-esque diagrams between key players in certain studios. Like, for example, I mentioned earlier that Hideaki Hata from Kyoto Animation was I believe a founding shareholder for Production IG, who is, so it's like that happened, and then you have the whole Gainax Trigger Kara subweb here. A lot of studios are connected just by little threads here and there, and that's one thing that is definitely true here. Also, in 1987, an OVA, they made an OVA titled Time Man Blues Shimizu Naotoen, directed by Takao Yotsuji. So, we need to talk about the early era of Shaft here, because most know Shaft from their modern titles, but what was it like before the advent of Akiyuki Simbo? And that is what we're gonna find out right now. So, after watching that, who here might think, wow, that seems very nostalgic somehow? Okay, then you're very much like me if you do, because even though I haven't seen it, it was around in my lifetime, but like it was created in 1995. Why is it not? Come on. Okay, yeah, 95 and 96, yeah. So I was around for it. I just was too young to watch actual anime back then. But the Juni Senshi Bakuretsu Eto Ranger was directed by Kunitoshi Okajima. It was, from what I understand, it was one of those kind of Saturday morning cartoon-esque anime that focused on the zodiac and the representations of such. But yeah, it has that kind of nostalgic sort of style that like makes me think of like Tenchi Muyo, and just like the fact towards the end there was a smile. It was like the way that the girl smiled. It was like very much Pokemon Tenchi Muyo 90s style animation, and just kind of like warms my heart a little bit, I guess. But that being said, Okajima, who directed this, was also, interesting fact, was the unit director for 5 episodes of Dennis the Menace in 1986, and would also go on to direct Samurai Pizza Cats. So, who here has seen Samurai Pizza Cats? Okay, so yeah, there's all sorts of connections in this world, and you would never know unless you just really dive deep into the what these people have worked on. So, moving on, we have a anime that, if I'm not mistaken, is it was created by a hentai artist. I don't think it was adapted from a hentai, but it was definitely there's definitely some connections there. So that is Sakura Mail, or Sakura Diaries. Anyone seen this one? Okay. We got some deep cuts here. We got some deep cuts. This is back in 1997. It was about a man who fakes his university acceptance so that he can date someone, and then finds out, or then there's a love triangle with his cousin, and it's anime. It's a prime example of truly cultured anime. What's up? Oh, yeah. So but yes, from what I understand, that was it was adapted from it was not adapted from a hentai, but it was the author was previously kind of like how, if I'm not mistaken, Nagatoro, more recently Nagatoro is not adapted from a hentai, but the author is very well versed in that kind of style. It's in the same vein as that, I believe. And if I'm not mistaken, I think they made like a Sega Genesis game that was adapted from this anime. So that's another fun piece of information. Like, can you imagine? Like, I still can't believe that. Like, I can't believe there was JoJo's games on like the PS1, and I'm like, and they not only were they released in America when literally nobody except like hardcore weebs knew what JoJo's Bizarre Adventure was, but like, I don't know, it just seems weird that like back in like the 90s there was the JoJo game, but that's neither here nor there. I can't really comprehend what the 90s were exactly, but they were a trip, So next up we have Doto Kani-chan in 2000. Who here seen this one? Anyone? Oh man, we got some deep cuts here. And so this was directed by Shinichi Watanabe, who, if you are unfamiliar with Shinichi Watanabe, first of all, how dare you? Secondly, he's best known for his adaptation of Excel Saga, where he makes a significant appearance as Nabashin. He also makes a habit of dressing as Lupin III, complete with an impressive afro. Kinji Yasuda also directed Arata the Legend and Macross Delta for Satellite, so there's another connection there. But yes, this looks, when I first saw the poster here, I really, the first thing I thought of was, I don't know why, but the first thing I thought of was like Doraemon, because like the in the poster, the guy in the astronaut suit just for some reason reminded me of Doraemon, and I was like, I don't know why, I don't want to even explore that, but yeah, the also, just, I don't know if I mentioned this, but I really want to like really press this home, that the best of the best series is not meant to serve as a recommendation panel. Any title I talk about here, most likely I have not seen. It is meant to be a kind of a historical look at like what all a studio has worked on in the past. So if I don't talk about like what I think about a certain title, it's probably because I haven't seen it, and I really don't want to steer you wrong. But if you have any questions or comments or concerns or anything like that, please feel free to raise your hand. I want to establish a communication, but I will not. This time, I don't think I'm gonna like prompt them. So if you have any, if you've seen it and you want to be like, oh yeah, that was really good or that was really bad, please feel free to raise your hand, and I will definitely open the communication lines there. So sorry, I'm kind of congested. Also because I've been wearing my mask all day, and it's really irritating. Anyway, so, moving on. Okay, so I heard a little bit more whispering than previous titles, so I'm assuming that a lot of you have seen this. Raise your hand if you've seen Maharomatic. Really? Okay. So Maharomatic, Automatic Maiden, came out in 2001. And it was the first of what I will call, I want to say 3 or 4 different titles where they cross-collaborated with Gainax. Who here knows Gainax? Okay, so this has the kind of the Gainax stylings and the Shaft stylings combined. It was directed by Hiroyuki Yamaga, who also directed Forest of Piano 2 for Gaina and the Royal Space Force Wings of Hanamis for Gainax. Yamaga also is one of the founding members of Gainax, but that's a story for another panel. Hint, hint, wink at the camera. So Gainax and Shaft would actually produce several collaborations, as I mentioned before, including This Ugly Yet Beautiful World in 2004 and He Is My Master in 2005. Maharomatic would receive a second season in the form of Maharomatic Something More Beautiful in 2002, as well as Maharomatic I'm Home in 2009. Maharomatic might have been on the ecchi side, but it was tame compared to some of their other pre-Simbo works, such as 2002's G-On Riders, directed by Shinichiro Kimura, centering around a cast of characters who all wear glasses. You can only tell where it goes from there. It seems as if the series was mostly harmless, however, but the OVA was produced in 2003, included nude scenes. So, hint, hint, wink, wink. In 2002, though, Shaft also worked with Bandai to put out an OVA called Arcade Gamer Fubuki, about a gamer with magical panties that increase her skills. Now, that is what you might call an epic gamer moment. But, in 2003, an adaptation of the adult visual novel Papaton also released, directed also by Kimura. So, you can see they've got their hands in a lot of different honeypots. There's not a colloquial there. So they had the kind of the ecchi market. They kind of had some Saturday morning cartoon stuff. Then they've got straight up adult visual novel adaptations. You got a lot of different things going on at Shaft. So that being said, this is when we enter the Simbo era. So this is where we enter exaggerated environments, theatrical stylings, and neck tilts. All the neck tilts. Who is Akiyuki Simbo? That is a question I think a lot of you might be asking. Why is he so important? And why does he have like 90 different credits to 90 different shows? I mean, he's not even really that old. I mean, yeah, he's probably, I don't even know when he was born. He's probably in his 50s. But still, how has he managed to have, like, more credits than pretty much, I would say, anyone else in the industry? The question is answered because he probably takes credit for a lot of supervisory positions in the series that he is director of. I feel like it's physically impossible for him to actually direct all of those shows, but I think that he probably takes like a lead directorial role, and then somebody else is like the actual director, and they kind of report to him and make sure, clear things with him. But that's just a theory of mine. That's just a game theory, so to speak. Subscribe. Anyway, so Simbo started his career in 1981 as an animator for Urusei Yatsura, but it was 1994's Metal Fighter Miku by JC Staff that had given him his directorial debut. He'd go on to direct multiple OVAs such as Devil Hunter Yoko 6, Double Jeopardy, Galaxy Fraulein Yuna, The Abyssal Fairy, as well as Starship Girl Yamamoto Yoko, which would directly lead to him directing a second series. It might come as no surprise to anyone, but in the early 2000s, he even directed a handful of hentai under a pseudonym, including Sibling Secret, Blood Royale, and Temptation. And I'm not going to make you raise your hand if you've seen any of those, but just laugh if you have. Yeah, I heard y'all. No. Anyway. So moving on to the first Simbo era title that we're going to discuss is, I would argue, one of the foundations of the moe culture that we have today. I don't know about y'all, but that is the most 2004 to 2005 thing I've ever seen in my life. Tsukuyomi Moon Phase, directed by Akiyuki Simbo. And if you're wondering, I am going to say every time I have to say directed by Akiyuki Simbo, I'm going to say it differently. So prepare for that. So first time it's free, you're going to see it normal, directed by Akiyuki Simbo. Prepare for the rest. Anyway, so in an interview with Anime News Network, Kubota said that Simbo and the in-house creators worked well together, leading to his involvement in the studio's next work we will talk about in a little bit. Something to keep in mind about Studio Shaft is that while Simbo is credited for more or less every single title by Shaft, again, I mentioned it earlier, but I want to just reiterate, it's more likely that he just is like a supervisory position. I feel like if he actually directed all of those things and kept the consistent style that they have, there would be some dead bodies at Shaft. Let's be real. Like sometimes you already hear about the problem with overworking in anime, but I feel like if Simbo actually directed all of these titles, he would be very much overworked because they have put out a lot in the last couple of years or the last decade, I would say. But who here has seen Tsukuyomi Moon Phase? Yes. I don't blame him. I mean, it's one of those things where, like, I will. This is one of those titles that I've not seen really any of. I remember watching. Okay, I remember going. I was like 11 years old, 12 years old, something like that. I don't know. Life is pain. It was like I was like 10 or 11 or something like that. I went to my local library's anime club, and we watched this. I watched the first episode, and I was like. I was still, a baby weeb. I was like, Full Metal Alchemist is my favorite anime. And, like, not saying it's not good. I'm just saying, like, I was severely undereducated about anime, right? Like, FMA 2003 was, like, the only thing I'd seen. And I was like, oh, yeah, it's the greatest anime ever. And so I was, like, not really, not I guess, convinced enough to watch this one after that screening. But, I do. It's one of those like isolated memories. If you have those, like those isolated memories where it's like, oh yeah, I remember exactly where I was on that specific day at that specific time. How do I remember that and not what I ate last week? Anyway, but something to keep in mind about Shaft is that while Simbo is credited, I've already said that. Why did I do that? Anyway, moving on. Who here has seen Pony Pony Dash? Also, that's another thing that hasn't really aged all that well, because that trailer is, like, very clearly made in 2005. Like, I mean, I just realized, like, yeah, I don't think it's necessarily, like, a kosher to be calling people dykes anymore, but, like, that trailer was very unashamed about it, I may have to switch that out for the next time. But anyway, that's neither here nor there. Pony Pony Dash was directed by Shin Onuma. I have not finished this one. I have tried multiple times. It is not that I think it's fine. Okay, I'm just gonna say it. I like it. It's just it's kind of like Lucky Star, where I have tried watching it more than once, and every time I fall off the wagon and do something else because my OCD gets out of control. Well, you were paid to? I think you need to be up here instead of me. That's a story that needs to be told. Okay, well, I won't make you tell it, but I think we all a little more curious now than we were. So Onuma would also, more recently, Onuma would go on to direct Anne Happy. Have you seen Anne Happy? No, wow. I mean, I'm not gonna actively recommend it. It's cute, but it's not anything to write home about. But the second one that he directed for Silver Link is one that I recommend that every single person in this audience go watch right now. Literally leave the room and go watch it. A Sister's All You Need. Anyone seen that one? Yeah. We got Coach in the back. Yeah, okay. But yeah, no. Seriously though, Onuma would go on to direct Anne Happy and Sisters All You Need for Silver Link. So whatever you feel about Pony Pony Dash, know that he has changed this little boy's life 3 years ago by making A Sisters All You Need. Moving on. So we've got Rec in 2006. Anyone seen Rec? Oh, I think we seriously have a story to tell here. Directed by Ryotaro Nakamura, who is unfortunately no longer of this earth. Nakamura was also the director of Serial Experiments Lane. Anyone seen Lane? A little more. So that they share a director, but that was done for Triangle staff. But unfortunately, his work on Despera, which is still in development hell, was cut short with his death in 2013. He also directed a film for Shaft, Kino's Journey, Country of Illness for You, in 2007. And honestly, the more I do research into Despera, the more I want to do a whole video on that whole debacle. So definitely check that out if I end up making it the way that I want to make it. Anyway, so here is where we jump onto a whole nother wagon of thought that I have a lot to say about, and I do not know how to say it, so I'm going to formulate my thoughts as we watch the opening. Okay, who here seen Maho Sensei Negima? I seriously didn't interview this person. Anyway, so Negima, okay, for those of you who are not aware, I'm just going to give you a little crash course in it. 10-year-old wizard, Harry Potter basically, has to finish up his wizard training by teaching a class of 31 Japanese middle school students who, some way or another, ends up making out with all of them. And they all get magical powers when they kiss him. And then they all go over to another world where it becomes a very serious shonen battle manga. So if you thought at first Negima was this series, it was this rom-com or whatever, no. It's a shonen battle series where he gets his powers from the girls that he convinces to kiss him. Yes?
So my understanding is, if you see Lupina, then it's the same guy. And
oh, yeah.
My understanding was that the producer, the company, we want a lot of Lupina. So the first couple volumes, it's all rom-com. And then after it got disappointed the radar, then he just went full-blown shonen. And this thing is 38 volumes, it's really, really good.
Yeah, well, what I haven't read the whole manga, but I because it's hard to come by, honestly. But I do want to actually dive into it. Basically, from what I understand, I could be off on this, but here's my interpretation of what happened. So Ken Akamatsu did Love Hina, as you said, and you're right. They wanted him to basically replicate the success of Love Hina because that was a big series during its day, and because especially since he had pretty much been known exclusively for the rom-com aesthetic for his entire career, pretty much. I Love You was his first one, and so he did I Love You, he did Love Hina, and then they were like, okay, do it again, but this time, do it the third time. And so he was like, okay, yeah, sure. Here's here's a couple volumes of a rom-com, and then he switches over to the battle manga. And then from what I understand, the reason why he decided to end it and start a new manga in the same universe is because they were like, okay, seriously though, we want you to make a rom-com. We don't want you to make this. We want you to just like do what we want you to do. And then he was like, yeah, no, I'm good. I'm gonna end it. And so he ended it, started UQ Holder under a different publisher, and now he's able to do the shonen battle manga he always wanted to do because the publishers actually believe in his vision. And so that's a big mess in the manga alone. Now the anime got even worse treatment because you have a completely semi-adaptation that has original ending done by Studio Zebek, and then the license was transferred over to Shaft. Now, Shaft took it, did a complete overhaul, did a whole season that has a beginning, middle, and an end, and it's actually tolerable. I actually genuinely enjoy it. It's one of those series that, yeah, it's an original series, and yeah, there's it's more comedy focused, but there is there's a balance there between the comedy and the action, so they did that. It was 26 episodes of that. And 24 to 26, somewhere like that. And then they did a spring special and a summer special, OVA, that was essentially taking one segment of the manga and adapting it for the special. And then they decided, okay, well, those went well enough. Let's go ahead and keep doing this. Little segmented OVAs. We're going to take certain arcs of the manga and we're going to adapt them. Forget the rest of the arcs that we didn't adapt. We're just going to adapt all the OVAs. So they did Shiroki Tsubasa Ala Alba. And then they were like, okay, let's just keep this train rolling. Mohitotsu no Sakai. Another, several episodes of OVA adapting a canon arc from the manga. And then they were like, okay, you know what? This has been gone so well. We have been adapting the manga pretty loyally. Let's make an anime original movie. And so they did that. And then so we have one non-canonical season of filler that is admittedly pretty good, 4 OVA specials adapting canon arcs in the manga, and a non-canon film to cap it all off. It was a mess, but it was an enjoyable one all the same. I'm not, of course, counting the guilty pleasure that is Negima, the first season produced by Zebek, which had an original ending and was notoriously bad, but I still have, nostalgia for it. Someone just had it out for Ken Akamatsu. But Yuki Holder, is Yuki Holder still running, or is that ended? I'm not sure. I haven't really been keeping up with it, but I have a feeling it's still chugging along. But that's not even counting the Yuki Holder anime, which JC Staff took and was like, hey, I know you guys have no connection to these characters because you haven't seen them in 10 freaking years. But here's an anime that tells you the sequel to Maho Sensei Negima. I know you have no idea what's going on, but hey, let's do 12 episodes of that and never touch it again. So, all right, moving on to a series that yeah, you know what we're doing. A series that I watched pretty much entirely while I was working out. Okay, who here has seen Hitamari Sketch? Okay, now who here has not seen Hitamari Sketch and thinks that those characters look kind of familiar? Keep that in mind for the future. That's all I'm going to say. So, Hitamari Sketch was done in 2007. It was directed by Akiyuki and Ryoiki Kamitsubo. Hitamari Sketch was followed by 3 sequel series: Hitamari Sketch X 365 in 2008, Hitamari Sketch X Hoshimitsu in 2010, and Hitamari Sketch X Honeycomb in 2012, as well as 2 specials called Hitamari Sketch X SP in 2011. A second OVA series would release in 2013 called Hitamari Sketch Saiyan Heroes Graduation Arc, with Yuki Yase joining Simbo as director. Note that the character designs here as they will come up in a future Studio Shaft work. So, but yes, I have watched up to the ending of season 2. I think that it is a great series. It is an overdose of cute. If you can handle the whole cute girls doing cute things kind of aesthetic, this is definitely the one for you. But it is a lot. There is, like I said, there is 4 whole seasons of just episode to episode, like, what are we doing today? There's no plot at all. It is just straight up, like they cut up actual sugar, they put it in the storyboards, and then they shipped it off to us. So, that being said, let's go to the exact opposite. In the words of Rocky and Bullwinkle, and here's something completely different. Actually, is that what that was? I don't even know. Whatever. I don't care. So who here is seeing Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei? Oh boy. So yeah, when I said it was something completely different, I definitely wasn't lying to you. This is in 2007 about a teacher who just cannot stop thinking about killing himself. And that's all I know about it because I watched the first episode back in 2007 and I haven't looked back since. Not that I don't want to watch it, it's just one of those things, it's hard to find, y'all. It's hard to find. I think they announced recently that they're finally going to be releasing it in the West. I don't know if it's out yet, but chances are, if they have, it's probably too expensive because I'm a broke-ass bitch. But anyway, this was directed by Akiyuki Simbo, and it was also followed, this season was followed by Zoku Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei in 2008, an OVA, Goku Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei from 2008 to 2009, Zan Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei in 2009, and another OVA, Zan Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei Bangaichi from 2009 to 2010. I really wish that Shaft would start naming their different seasons a little differently, because that is a mouthful. But, that being said, we are then going to move on to another 2007 series, EF: A Tale of Memories, which also received a sequel series, EF: A Tale of Melodies, also directed by Shin Onuma in 2008. That's another one that I've seen the first episode of, and I have not watched anymore because again, commitment issues are hard. But yes, so moving on from there, let me tell you a Monogatari. 2009 to the present day. Really, because, I mean, as far as I'm aware, they still have not finished them, but they are working on them as far as I can tell. Shaft has kind of been working through a little bit of a slow patch lately, so who knows if they're going to get to the off-season books, but for the most part, they have been, putting them out pretty regularly. Baki Monogatari, Nisei Monogatari, Neko Monogatari, second season, Hana, Suki, Owari. What's up? Oh, Zoku, yeah, there's also, I haven't updated it with Zoku Warrior. Zoku Warrior actually did come out, but unfortunately it's still not available on any streaming service, and neither is Koyomi Monogatari. So I have not seen those, but so basically, here's the thing with Monogatari series. The biggest question I have ever been asked about this series is, how the fuck do you watch it? What's the order in which you watch it? And I have to tell you, it doesn't really matter. I mean, there are two main schools of thought. You can watch it in the release order, which is the way I did it, or you can watch it chronologically, you can watch it release order. I do not give a shit as long as you watch it. It is such a good story that is weird in every aspect, imaginable. But you know what? If you can look past the weirdness, that's actually an endearing trait for it, honestly. I used to have a panel where I broke down all of the openings of Monogatari series. Haven't done it in a while because, I wanted to try new things, but I've been thinking about bringing it back. So if that's something you might be interested in seeing, hit me up in the DMs. Tell San Japan you want me to come back next year and bring it, and I literally live for you people, so I'll do it. But that being said, I don't have the time for that shit. You can go on my YouTube channel though, and you can find like part 1 and part 3 of my video series where I break down the openings, because YouTube and
You're getting a Discord DM on Cloister Weebs.
What's up?
You're getting a DM on Discord.
Yeah, do that too. Join my Discord server. It's dead, but you can join it. But the point is that you can go watch like part 1 and part 3 because Sony Japan doesn't like me, and they keep taking down my Monogatari videos. But anyway, so the story here is that Baki Monogatari came out, was directed by Tatsuya Oishi. And Senbou. Nisei Monogatari was directed by Hitamar Tomiyuki. Neko Monogatari was directed by Tomiyuki. Second season by Tomiyuki. Hana Suki by Tomiyuki. And then Owari by Tomiyuki. Now, you might be wondering, what happened to Tatsuya Oishi? Did he just do a bad job with Baki Monogatari? I would say that's not the case at all. Because Oishi was working on something else. But first, I want to mention that Oishi also worked on titles such as Yu Yu Hakusho, Digimon the movie, the US version, because if you know, that was 2 movies stitched together, and I didn't even know that until I was a grown man, and Android Kaido the animation. But Oishi was working on something else during the entire Monogatari series, and that was this. Who here seen the trilogy of movies Giza Monogatari? Okay. So, Giza Monogatari was a trilogy of movies directed by Oishi Simbo. Covers the first novel in the series, a prequel to Bake Monogatari, and it details Aragi's transformation into a vampire and his battles and such and so on and so on. It's really good, very much a Sakuga-infused film. It is one of the most beautiful movies I've ever seen, and I've seen a silent voice. So, that being said, that's what Oishi was working on the entire time that they were working on the series. They were basically, I don't know, I don't have like an inside in Shaft, but I like to believe that what happened was they were like, okay, here's the deal, Oishi, we're working on the whole series. And then he says, well, can I have a season? No, we're not going to do that. We're going to give you a whole freaking canvas to work with. And so for the next several years, he just kept his head down, worked on the trilogy of films, and it became one of the greatest entries in the series, in my opinion, because it just looked so damn good. So, moving on from there, that was in 2016 to 2017 that they released those. And of course, it needs to be said, it's Aniplex. Of course it's too expensive to buy. It's one of the, who here has any Aniplex releases whatsoever? Now I'm going to go ahead and ask you to keep your hands up, because everyone look around, those people are the 1%. I could win the lottery and I would have just enough for 2 Aniplex releases. So you go down to the dealer's hall, they're selling a Zoku Awari Monogatari for $70. Now I'm sure that it's good, I'm sure it's worth it, but that's like literally the amount of money I have every 2 weeks to work with in terms of like channel budget. So I'm not gonna go buy them, I'm just not gonna watch them. But anyway, moving on. Who here seen Maria Holic? Okay, a fair number of you, good. Maria Holic is, honestly, that poster describes it just perfectly. The main character is not the main character. The main character is clearly Maria, y'all. But that's neither here nor there. This is directed by Yukihiro Miyamoto and Simbo. And honestly, the Kaneko is supposedly the main character. Goes to an all-girls Catholic school with the sole intention of finding the woman she's meant to be with. She's a lesbian. She thinks that anime is a proper method of like determining what all-girls schools are like. So she literally decides, you know what? I have not found the woman I'm meant to be with yet, so I'm gonna enroll in an all-girls school because all sorts of crazy shit goes on there, right? And that's not the case at all. Her roommate is a cross-dressing man named Maria, who is literally doing it for a bet. He's the most petty, sociopathic person I have ever seen in the anime, almost. And literally the whole reason that he's doing this is to win a bet. He's just like, you know what? I don't even care. I'm too petty. I'm not gonna lose. So you know what? I'll live in an all-girls school, sure. And so it's one of those things where she has to kind of contend with her roommate. And honestly, if they're like, I'm not the kind of person who does crossplay, but I would literally cosplay Maria in a second. What that says about me, I don't really want to care to know. But you know what? Let's table that for now, and we'll reapproach it in about 30 years when I have a mental breakdown. Maria Holic was followed by a sequel, Maria Holic Alive, in 2011. And Miyamoto, who directed this, also directed, of all things, Fate Extra Last Encore, because no one can escape Fate, not even Shaft. Moving on. So we had Natsu no Arashi. Anyone heard of this one? Oh, I swear! I need to interview you! Half of this shit... I haven't even heard of this shit. All right, man. We'll get you on the show. Natsu no Arashi would receive a sequel series, Natsu no Arashi Akinaichu, directed by Onuma and Kenichi Ishikura in 2009. I have no idea what this is, besides the fact that Shaft worked on it. I wanted to at least mention it because, complete recollection and everything. Dance in the Vampire Bund. Anyone heard of this one? I saw ads for this in a New Type USA back in 2008. Wait, that's impossible. It came out in 2010. It would have to be 2010, but still, the point is I'm pretty sure I saw ads for this anime and I was like, I wonder what this is. Never thought about it ever again. But this is directed by Simbo and Masahiro Sonoda. about a vampire who does not know how to wear clothes. Sonoda also worked on titles such as Kami ga Kill, A Certain Scientific Railgun S, and F-Zero Falcon Densetsu. Okay, cool. Moving on to a series that I personally adore. If you don't... Why is Google asking me what I want? I want you to shut the fuck up, Google. Anyway, yeah, I don't think it heard me either. But then again, even if I told it, it wouldn't hear me. So that being said, next up we are going on to a anime that I personally adore, if you don't count the final episode. Who here seen Arakawa Under the Bridge? Okay, good. Culture all around. So I watched this one way back when. Really as it aired. I'm pretty sure I caught the ending as it aired. It kind of took over my life as a, how old would I be in 2010? This was 11 years ago, so it's about 16, 17 years old. It kind of took over my life because I literally watched this and I was like, you know what? This is back whenever I was like still hopeful about being a voice actor. And I was like, you know what? I want to do a fandom of this whole series. Now, who here has tried their hand at voice acting? Anybody? So, right, same. I feel you there. So you know that whenever a 16-year-old says, I want to do a full series fandom, you know that's not going anywhere, right? And that's exactly what happened in my case. I did like a clip, and that was it. But that being said, that's neither here nor there. Arakawa Under the Bridge, if you're not familiar with the series, essentially it is about Koichi Nomiya, who is he's a very wealthy, very successful businessman who his family has a long-running rule of never owing anyone anything. That basically, if he has a debt, to pay it off, because literally, if he doesn't, he will owe them, and that will be going against the family motto. So when a bunch of kids steal his pants one day, randomly, they hang the pants up on the bridge, and he's like, okay, you know what? I'm not gonna ask for help. I'm gonna climb up there myself, and I'm gonna get my pants. He climbs up there, falls off the bridge, gets dives into the water essentially, is about to drown, and is rescued by Nino, who saves him, and she's like, basically he's like, oh shit, you saved my life, I have to repay you. How do you want me to repay you? And she says, I want you to be my boyfriend. And then he's like, well shit, I guess I have to now. So then he decides he's gonna live underneath the bridge with her, because she apparently has no home, and she is a bridge dweller, along with a bunch of other eccentric characters, like a person who dresses like a kappa and like claims to be a kappa, but we all see the zipper on the back of his neck. We know he's not a kappa. Plus a washed up old rock star who wears a star mask for a head, a nun named Sister, who is a big burly muscle man, and then the sadistic sheep herder that he's in love with. I think I'm pretty sure, if I remember right, they're together, or they want to be together anyway. And there's a bunch of other characters Under the Bridge that are it's just insane. It's just insanity run rampant. It's a very good series. The problem, I won't spoil it for anybody who wants to watch it, but the problem is that it's very obviously a 4-panel manga that was adapted into an anime. But they kind of made it seem like there was a ongoing plot that like they were gonna resolve, and then the last episode comes and it's like they didn't resolve that ongoing plot, and here we are 11 years later, we still haven't gotten a third season. So it's kind of like I don't think we're gonna get it. And maybe it was just me overthinking the plot that there was there. I don't know. But the point is that I was like very much not really a fan of how it ended. But that's neither here nor there. Next up, we got And Yet the Town Moves in 2010. Anyone seen this one? Okay. How is it, by the way? Because it looks really interesting. Yeah? Okay. I'll check it out. Because it's one of those things where sometimes I'll see a poster for an anime, and I'll be like, I like the character design. I like the way it looks. I'm just afraid to get hurt, It's just directed by Simbo. So moving on, I believe I know what this is. But see, here's the thing about making these panels. I often forget the order in which these titles appear. So I'm really along for the ride with y'all. So, okay, who here's seen Madoka Magica? Okay, that's about what I expected. This is probably... Oh, yeah. This is the one series... Upon hosting this panel, this is the one series where I can expect pretty much everybody has seen it. It was back in 2011, and I just want to say, remember whenever I mentioned earlier to keep in mind the character designs for Hitamari sketch and why they might look familiar? It's because of this series. Because, if I'm not mistaken, let me see if I have a note for this. Ume Aoki, Aoki, however you say, is the creator of the Hitamari sketch manga. And they basically were like, hey, you should come on the staff for our original Dark Magical Girl series. And she was like, okay, yeah, sure. So the character designs were done by, the Hitamari sketch manga was done by Ume Aoki, and then she also came over and did the character designs for Madoka Magica, which is why it looks so similar. Let's see here. It opened the Dark Magical Girl floodgates and paved the way for titles such as Yuki Yuna is a Hero, Magical Girl Raising Project, Maho Shoujo Sight. All, regardless of how you feel about them, I don't think any of those would exist in the same way had it not been for Madoka Magica. That being said, I love this series. I gotta say that first and foremost. But I also have to say that I think Yuki Yuna did a little bit better. But that's just because I like the whole... Who here's seen Yuki Yuna as a Hero? Anyone? If you've seen Madoka Magica, definitely go watch Yuki Yuna. That's just a digression here. It's such a good series, and it does the whole magical girl with consequences thing a little bit better, in my opinion. But that being said, again, I have to say, I love Madoka. I'm so excited because if you keep up with anime news, you will know that they are finally making a fourth movie. When is it coming out? Probably when we're dead. But you know what? The day we die, they're going to announce me, oh yeah, by the way, it's out. And I'm like, damn it! But anyway, it was given 3 films. What's up? Right? It's like, hey, by the way, it's out. And I'm like, oh. What's up? Oh yeah, of course. Oh yeah. Oh, respawn. Oh, sorry. I thought you said respond. I was like, yeah, of course you can respond. Right, no, I get you. So, anyway, but yes, the fourth film, it's called Walpurgis no Kaiten. No release date has been announced, unfortunately. But I'm very excited for it. I think it's going to be very, very, very good. And especially if they continue it from where Rebellion left off, because I was like, I watched Rebellion and I was like, please tell me you're going to make another one. And then 7 years later, they were like, no. And I'm like, please? And they're like, maybe. Anyway, so moving on from there, we have Ground Control to Psychoelectric Girl. Anyone seen this one? Okay. So this was in 2011, directed by Simbo and Miyamoto. Also in 2011, an OVA series would be produced adapting Koji Kumeta's Katene Kaizo manga. For those of you who might think that Koji Kumeta's name sounds familiar, he is the manga artist behind Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei and Kakushi Goto. Who here watched Kakushi Goto last year? Oh my gosh, go watch Kakushi Goto. It's so good. But anyway, if you wondered, like, the character designs for Sayonara Zetsubo Sensei and Kakushi Goto are very similar as well. It's because they're done by the same mangaka. But then we got Sasami-san at Ganbara Nai in 2013. Anyone seen this one? Okay. I need to watch as much anime as y'all are, because I'm like, some of these shows I'm like, man, I haven't even heard of this shit. But I want to watch them. It's just like, where am I going to get the time? But anyway, that's neither here nor there. I keep saying that. It's the catchphrase of this panel. So, moving on from there, we are almost caught up with the present. Next up, we have a series that maybe not a lot of y'all knew that was Shaft, but I'm pretty sure you've seen it. Who here watched Nisakoi? Oh, now keep your hands up if you knew it was Shaft. Oh, yeah, good point. Yeah, wait, what did you say back there? I heard somebody saying something back there about... Okay. So this is the exact opposite. Maybe I miscalculated then, because I always, like... I think I want to say it subconsciously. I always knew it was Shaft, but, like, it was a big part of like the anime conversation for a good bit, because like, you know, everyone was like, oh, they're never gonna make another season, and they're not. I mean, let's be real. I mean, the manga's been done for what, like 4 years, and they still haven't even touched it. So I mean, they're probably not gonna make another season. But Nisakoi was directed by AKIU. Okay, I'm not gonna do that. Anyway, Nisakoi would receive 5 episodes of OVAs from 2014 to 2016. Some that were released with the manga, and others that were adaptations of short manga arcs, but none of which dared to continue the damn story. So that either means I'm just never gonna know who he picks, or I'm just gonna read the manga. But one of those two eventualities will occur. So yeah. So then please do not tell me. I know that y'all probably are itching to be like, hey, he picked blank. And I'm like, I pretty much already know who he picked, but like, I don't know. So, like, I don't want to know either. You know, it's like, the mystery is probably more satisfying than who he actually picked. But that being said, moving on. Who here seen Makaku City Actors? I feel so sorry for you. Even though I watched it too, and yes, I do feel sorry for myself, I feel more sorry for you, because this show is abysmal. Okay, look, I'm gonna be completely honest with y'all. I love Kagura Project, okay? I love the music videos. I wish that they had stayed music videos, because sometimes, as I said before, the mystery is more satisfying than the actual truth. And in this case, not knowing specifically what happened in what order was probably more satisfying than seeing it in this format, okay? This series, it was one of those things where I was so invested in it for such a long time, and I was so happy to finally see the Kagura Project characters in an actual written story and not just in music videos. And then it ended, and I was like, I literally have nothing. I have no information. What the fuck just happened? And yeah, it was directed by Yuki Yase, who I believe did the first season of Fire Force, if that helps you with any kind of frame of reference. Actually, fun story about that. I actually went. Whenever I was living with a roommate, and he was watching Fire Force, and I'd already seen it, but I was like kind of watching along with him. And I was like, you know what? The cinematography here looks very, very familiar, and I don't know why. And I was like, wait, hold on. The director of Fire Force was Yuki Yase, and I traced that back to he worked at Shaft, he worked on Madoka City Actors, and I was like, oh. Anyway, so I highly advise against watching this, and the next slide will showcase why. So let's get through this shit. That was better than Berserk 2016, though. And yes, to the person who said at least they reanimated, yes, they did. But it doesn't change the fact that this exists, and I'm gonna show it every time I get the chance. Next up, we got Gourmet Girl Graffiti. Graffiti. Gourmet Girl Graffiti. I can't talk. Directed by Simbo and Naoyuki Tatsuya. It was a show that existed, and it looks cute, and I have no other ideas about it. Next up, we got Magical Sweet Prism Nana in 2015. It appears this series is still in production hell, as only 3 episodes look to have been released. The other 4 that were supposed to be released are still in stasis. It's even worse considering each episode is only 4 minutes in length, so I think this one is dead on arrival, honestly. Then we have... Who here seen March Comes In Like a Lion? Oh, it's so good. It is such a good series. I watched it during quarantine, during all the bullshit that happened last year, and it was one of those series that it just kind of gave me hope in a dark time. It's very much a very beautiful depiction of depression, anxiety, self-doubt. It's one of those series that I just like. It genuinely has a place in my heart as like this very, very good message, and like it does it in such a beautiful way too. It employs the Shaft style in such an interesting and unique way that they really haven't touched. I don't think they've really done a series quite like this one before. And unfortunately, we still don't have a season 3. I'm really hoping that maybe with the release of the manga finally in the West, that it will spark a third season soon, because there are a lot more story beats to touch on, and I need to see what's going on in these characters' lives. And I feel like a complete weeb when I say that, because I'm like, oh yeah, my life is not entertaining at all. I need to live vicariously through these shogi players. Like, come on. But that being said, this was directed by Kenjiro Okada, and Okada also worked on titles such as Kimi ni Todoke and Gatchaman Crowds, if anybody's seen either of those. Again, the connections are there. Moving on, we've got the Beheading Cycle, also another Shaft and Nisakoi work, just like Monogatari series. Not the last one, not the first one, not the last one. It's definitely a good combination, is Shaft and Nisakoi. An OVA series comprised of 8 episodes based on the light novels by Nisakoi. Then we got Ushiagi Hanabi. Anyone seen this one? Now, I gotta be very clear. I gotta be very clear for a second. When it first came out, I was told that it was shiny, polished garbage, and so I said that in panels. And then I was like, you know what? I haven't watched it. I ain't doing anything tonight. Let's watch Fireworks. And I liked it. It was good. Not only was it a beautiful movie, it was not a bad story either. It wasn't the greatest thing ever, but it was definitely not what they called, shiny garbage. I feel like it was one of those movies that just got a bad rap because people were expecting something that they just didn't get. People saw the main girl and thought it was Senju Gahara and got upset when it wasn't Senju Gahara. And I was like, look, I get it. But, you have to understand that the two projects are separate. And the same thing could be said for the upcoming Cowboy Bebop live action. The two projects are separate. I'm just hot takes tonight. Nothing but hot takes tonight. You have to, I'm just going to say it. If you like Cowboy Bebop, I love Cowboy Bebop. But you have to understand, the anime is the anime, and this is this. So they're not the same. Anyway, while we're on the hot takes, I just want to get the general consensus here. Who here is actually excited for Cowboy Bebop? Man. You know what? I don't even want to talk to y'all. I'm not hyped for it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm not like hyped for it. I am gonna watch it. I don't expect it to be good, but I have my optimistic lenses on. I'm like cautiously optimistic, I guess. But anyway, the director of Fireworks also worked on titles such as Android Kikaido, the animation, and Air Gear, if anybody's seen those. Then we got, of course, because nobody can escape Fate, not even Shaft. We got Fate Extra Last Encore, which is also on Netflix. And I have no idea what this one's about, because I've only seen approximately 24.99999 repeating, of course, percentage of the Fate series. And that's probably the way it's going to stay. Then, this is in 2018, by the way, and then we had a brief hiatus. What's up? Oh. Then in 2019, following the release of March Comes In Like a Lion and Fireworks, Shaft experienced a brief studio hiatus, the only original work coming in the form of Zoku Ori Monogatari. The studio was outsourced for work on a single episode of the Quintessential Quintuplets, adapted by Tezuka Productions. Things wouldn't get back to normal until 2020 with the release of Magia record Puella Magai Madoka Magica side story, which I will not be showing the opening of because we are running out of time. Magia record! It was directed by Gekidan Inukuri, which is an animation troupe consisting of ex-Gainax animator Ayumi Shiraishi under the name Tushiro Ino and ex-Tanto 2D painter Yosuke Anai under the name Doro Ino. They are known for their production design works in the Puella Magai Madoka Magica series, as well as creating the ending credits sequence for Maria Holic and Usagi Drop. We do not talk about Usagi Drop in this household. Anyway, what's up? Let's not do that. Who here seen Magia record? Is it as good or worse than or Monica? Okay, so don't go in expecting Monica, but okay. I've been meaning to give it a shot lately because I know that it's season 2 either just ended or it's still going. I don't know. Still going? Okay. So I know that's happened, and I'm like kind of like, okay, well, I might as well give it a shot because I like adjacent works, I guess. Then we approached 2020, and 2020 gave us one of their most lukewarm series ever. Who here saw Assault Lily Bouquet? Okay. So this was based on a toy line. This was an anime based basically on a toy line. I want to say there was other things it was based on, but I can't remember off the top of my head now. But it was directed by Shoshi Saiki and Hajime Utani. And every single character in the show is a profound lesbian. Even the male principal of the school is a profound lesbian, which is fine. I'm here for it. I'm not gonna lie. I'm here for it. It's just one of those things where in the realm of Yuri anime, it's not even really anything to write home about. It's all right. It's one of those things. I watched the whole thing. I liked it all right, but I'm not gonna give it a rewatch anytime soon. It's okay. I feel like they were really trying to coast on the whole. How would I put it? Like the battle action. The only people who can fight these monsters are prepubescent girls. It's like we've seen that in Evangelion before. So anyway, yes, I'm calling Shinji a prepubescent girl. Get over it. What's up? Oh yeah, and Darling in the Franxx. I mean, that's another one. But Saiki was the director of My Hero Medic I'm Home. Kind of a reach back to the beginning of the panel, as well as Medaka Box for Gainax and Asahi Production. So now we hit the most recent title that they've put out, I believe, aside from the second season of Magia Record. Who here watched Pretty Boy Detective Club? Oh, not enough people. That's such a good show. This is another one that was a collaboration between Nisio Isin and Shaft. So if you like Monogatari, if you watch Decapitation Cycle, you also want to check this one out because this is another one where you kind of know there's a certain level of quality because Nisio Isin is notorious for. It's fine. Nisio Isin is notorious for. Putting out these really dialogue-heavy but also very interesting works of fiction. And Shaft is also, notorious for a certain thing. When you combine those two notorious things, you definitely get something really good, and I really recommend you check this one out. Hajime Utani also directed this one. He also worked on titles such as Chaos Head for Madhouse and Ice Shield 21 for Gallop. Like I said, it is based on the novel by Nisio Isin, making this the third collaborative work between Shaft and the Monogatari author. I can't wait for the Shaft adaptation of Delivery Room about a bunch of pregnant women who engaged in battle royale with a safe birth on the line. I think it's going to be fire. It's going to be absolute just hotness. I can't wait, man. Who here knew that existed, by the way? Have you all heard about that? Yeah. Nisio Isin wrote a novel, or a light novel, I think, about literally Saw but pregnant women. So I'm a little bit concerned. That being said, what's next for Shaft? Luminous Witches, a spin-off from Strike Witches, has been confirmed and set for release this year, directed by Shoshi Saiki. A fourth Madoka Magica film has been confirmed, but as of this moment, no release date has been announced. An ONA series based on Assault Lily Bouquet, Assault Lily Fruits, is set to release in 2021, but no director has been confirmed as of this moment. Zoku Wari Monogatari is still not available in any streaming service, and it has been approximately 1,154 days since March Commencing Like a Lion Season 2 ended, and no news of a third season has been announced. That being said, I want you all to follow me. Thank you so much for coming here. I appreciate your love and affection. I want to just say thank you. I appreciate it. I just want to say real quick that as of now, I have 24 subs until I hit my goal for the weekend, and there's enough people in here that we can do that right now. So I'm going to go ahead and say it. Subscribe to me, you cowards. Anyway, thank you very much. I love you. Tomorrow, 4:30 p.m., Indie Impact. I'll see y'all there.